Hello, everyone. Welcome to my weekly musings on life in relation to passages I read in the Bible. Today I want to start by sharing a secret with you. I've never revealed this to anyone, but at 12 years old I almost became a famous singer. Now, I had not spent hours in front of my dresser mirror belting out renditions of A Hard Day's Night, nor had I taken singing lessons or appeared in talent shows. In fact, singing in public had been the farthest thing from my shy little girl's mind. But when our grade 6 teacher put out the call to join a choir and be part of a recording, I, along with the whole class, signed up. So for weeks, we were swept up in the excitement of extensive practice. I caught the performance bug, started dreaming of a musical career. Maybe I'd be the next Anne Murray or maybe Dusty Springfield. Then finally, recording day came and went, and it was all over. To be sure, we were also very proud of our accomplishment. It was my first experience of being part of a big project. But as with all good things, it eventually came to an end. And that was the problem. I went home that day feeling a sense of emptiness. What was I going to do with myself? I imagine that the disciples of Jesus must feel a similar sense of deflation and aimlessness as we find them making their way along the dusty road to Emmaus in today's reading. A reading from the Gospel of Luke. On the afternoon of that first Easter Sunday, 2 of the disciples were walking to the village of Emmaus, about 7 miles out from Jerusalem. They were deep in conversation and going over all the things that had happened. In the middle of their talk and questions, Jesus came up and walked along with them, but they were not able to recognize him. Jesus asked, "What's this you are discussing so intently?" They stood there, long-faced, like they had lost their best friend. Then one of them, his name was Cleophas, said, "Are you the only one in Jerusalem who hasn't heard what's been happening in the last few days?" Jesus said, "Well, what has happened?" So they explained. Jesus was truly a man of God, a prophet blessed by both God and all the people. But then our high priests and our leaders betrayed him, got him sentenced to death, and crucified him. And we had our hopes up that he was the one about to deliver Israel. And now it's the 3rd day since this happened. But now some of our women have completely confused us. Early this morning they were at the tomb and they couldn't find his body. They came back with this story that they'd seen a vision of angels who said he was alive. Well, the disciples then came to the edge of the village where they were headed, and Jesus acted as if he were going on, but they pressed him. "Stay, have supper with us. It's nearly evening. The day is done." So Jesus went in with them. And here is what happened. He sat down at the table with them, and then taking the bread, he blessed it, he broke it, and he gave it to them. And at that moment, their eyes were opened, and they recognized him. And then he disappeared. So back and forth they started talking. Didn't we feel on fire as he conversed with us on the road and as he opened up the scriptures for us? They didn't waste a minute. They were up and on their way back to Jerusalem. They found the 11 and their friends all gathered together, talking. "It's really happened," they said. "The Master has been raised up. May God be in our listening, God in our understanding. Amen. In this story, we discover the disciples, dejected and defeated, coming down from the heightened experience they had all felt in the presence of Jesus. For a brief moment in their lives, they had caught the excitement and the vision of working towards this joint project that Jesus called the Kingdom of Heaven, a place where all are treated with justice, equity, and compassion, where no human being is left behind. They had been able to let go of their personal insecurities about the future and to put their whole hearts into this vision. But now it was all over. The disciples find themselves disillusioned, walking away from Jerusalem and away from this project before it ever really got off the ground. Disillusionment happens to all of us sooner or later. People let us down. Religion lets us down. Our politicians let us down. Our parents let us down. The institutions that are meant to work on our behalf let us down. And yet, inside each human heart, there lies an idealist, a dreamer of how life could be so much better than it is right now. Doctors and nurses want to save lives. Parents want to save their children from hardship. Soldiers want to serve their country. Judges want to create a just society. Is that a bad thing? The cynics would say that the only way to save ourselves from bitter disappointment is to work the system for our own personal advantage. So at least we know we have created a measure of security and comfort for ourselves and our loved ones. And yet, right now, how many of us are giving thanks for the idealism that lies within the hearts of every single doctor and nurse and healthcare worker? The story of the disciples on the road to Emmaus is the story of two idealists who face defeat and then suddenly meet a stranger on their road, and that stranger shakes up their thinking, opening up their own religious texts and reinterpreting them in a way that shows them a long tradition within their faith. It's a golden thread that points them towards the sacred task of working for a better world in a selfless, generous manner. Religious scholar Karen Armstrong reminds us that all major religions state that the way towards a better world and a better future for our children is to look upon one another with the eyes of compassion and to answer the call to serve one another. This is a sacred task because life itself is sacred, and we are all part and parcel of that sacredness. Each of us carry this spark of divinity. Today, in the midst of this worldwide pandemic, we could be tempted to give in to disillusionment, for we have been let down. Politics has been hijacked by lobby groups and those who seek power for personal gain. Graft and greed have infiltrated the justice system. Religion has been hijacked by extremists and fundamentalists, sectarians who want to argue about correct beliefs, and people who simply don't walk the talk. I could go on. Personally, I don't really care what your beliefs are. What I am interested in is what you are willing to commit your life to. The point is, it would be very tempting to simply turn a deaf ear to the idealist that lives within each of our hearts. And yet, aren't we, each and every one of us, trusting that all those essential service workers have our best interests at heart? What my religious tradition teaches me is that we were all placed on this earth with a divine calling, a sacred calling. It whispers in the nighttime of our distress. Don't give up. Turn back to Jerusalem. Seek out like-minded people who will work with you. Commit yourself to living for the greater good. Feed the hungry. Heal the sick. Bring justice to the underdog. Protect the weak. I don't care what you believe. Just do it. Amen. Well, thank you for joining us today. Below this video, you'll see links to other interesting topics that I have talked about today. And until we meet again next week, have a good week. Bye for now.